This episode is sponsored by Zenro Clothing Co. Pick up your tees and or accessories at zenroclothingco.com and be sure to use offer code Socrates at checkout for 20% off select items. Also, if you're not into spending the money, just check out the Zenro radio playlist. zenroclothingco.com, music for your everyday. This episode also sponsored by The Pointy Bakery. If you're located in the Pointy area of Scarborough, Toronto, be sure to check out The Pointy Bakery, say what's up to Arville, and pick up a donut or two. Baked daily, crafted with love. This episode also sponsored by Podbean. Podbean is the podcasting platform of choice. It's the one that me and Vish use, and is great, you know, if you're looking to start that DIY podcast yourself. Definitely check out Podbean. Use the link podbean.com/SocraticGamers and gain 1 month of unlimited podcasting for free. Test it out, build that content. Anyone could podcast, right, Vish?
Yep.
Start a podcast and get your ideas out there. All right, enjoy the episode. Okay, so this is something I brought up right before the podcast began, and I was thinking about it a lot this week, about how different like perspectives hit you into like different categories, right? I was like saying that all through the through like the little chat group that we have about like I feel like I feel like our ideas are relatively like fringe or like alternative, whereas I'm noticing recently that a lot of the narrative is shaped around like socially accepted ideals.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I feel like there's like a shift. I don't, because I was thinking like, okay, maybe it is just fringe, but then I started to hear other people talk about similar ideas, right? And you see it a lot online, right? I was thinking like maybe the old world is slowly dying and we're in a really different transitionary phase, right? So like, okay, so like the old world is like the mindset of our parents, right? Where it's like, okay, like the socially structured like narrative of like go to school, get a job, get a house, get a car, get a kid, repeat the cycle. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like the cyclical nature of like golden handcuffs.
Okay.
Have you heard of the golden handcuffs thing? Okay, so basically golden handcuffs is like you work your way up to this top level, you get a retirement package, and you leave. Like just basically the script of our parents.
Mm-hmm.
But you notice that there's like a shift now. Like I just read that article about people who are younger are like jumping from job to job. I mean, this isn't true for everyone, but there's like definitely like more of a shift towards like entrepreneurship, people doing their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, have you noticed that as well, or?
It seems like that.
Yeah, it seems like that, right? Well, you know, I guess it could be like a socioeconomic thing, right? Like if you have the means to do that, you would do that. But if you don't have the means to do that, you wouldn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I feel like even the thing with like the Pope, how he's saying like, you know, younger people are opting for more like dogs instead of children.
Yeah.
Or like how we can't even afford houses now, right? So like how if you can't afford a house, you can't be burdened by a mortgage. So that's another thing that locks you in.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and I feel like these locks that were once placed upon us, like we're having more sentience or choice over how we live our lives,
Mm-hmm.
especially with like remote things now. Do you disagree? Like I don't know, you look incredulous.
No, I was just thinking, is that like the house buying thing, is that a localized situation? Is that a
Like what do you mean?
like in our immediate area? Because we know like
in Toronto?
Yeah,
and people are moving away from the city and like getting jobs there,
right?
Like getting remote jobs so that they can still buy a house and like totally. I'm like okay. I know 2 people now who have joined their families in order to purchase a house.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you're still trying to fit into that social narrative, like we need a house, but like you're doing alternative means to get that now.
Okay.
you know, and it's like, but that's like a transitionary thing. It's like, will everyone do that? Is that the nature? Like, do we still want to lock ourselves into those things, like houses, kids, etc.?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I don't, it's not
like
for
what?
everyone, but I mean, there's more people not having kids today than before.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
And this is what I mean. It's like I feel like there's a shift, and like there's like a future thinker mentality
Mm-hmm.
where it's like that's where it's headed, and then there's still like the old school mentality, which is what we're still trying to hold on to, and we're in that transitionary period of like who's falling into which camps.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because like there are people who like they'll take a lower paying job in order for more free time or happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You've heard of that,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, why would you do that? That's not the social narrative. The social narrative is climb the corporate ladder, make as much money as you can, screw everyone else. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you agree that that's the? It seems like you're thinking about something, and I'm like, okay, so what? Like, what are you?
No, I think you're right. Yeah, it is that. Yeah, people do think like that. Yeah.
Wait, which way?
Oh, the running corporate ladder thing.
The corporate ladder, right?
Yeah, or make the most amount of money. Yeah.
That's what we are taught to do. Is what I'm saying.
Okay.
And I feel like there's a shift away from that now.
I don't know.
All right, if you say you don't know, then that just means that we're weird, because that was my point about the whole thing. Like this week, right? I was like, we are weirdos that we didn't follow this narrative,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because if you're saying that, yeah, that's the generally accepted thing, then if we don't follow that generally accepted thing, we're atypical.
Right.
So then, would you agree that we're just weirdos?
Yeah, we're different. Yeah, I'll just say. I think we've always said this, right?
I know,
Generally.
but it's like it really sunk in this week to me, because I was like, oh, we're just not following the norm at all.
Right.
And that's been tripping me out, because I was like, okay, because look, really Tara brought this on. She's like, the things that you ingest in your mind, like the media that you see, the free thinkers, the stuff you read, it's not the generally accepted narrative.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, no.
And
no,
I
no.
was like,
No.
what do you mean? But like, we should all be thinking about these things. Like, we should all be thinking about like the looming economic crisis, or how we're going to get to Mars, or technology that's going to save us in the future, or you know, equality in terms of you don't need a vaccine if you're going back and forth between it's for your job. Like, why are you going to take that away from somebody? You know what I mean? Like, these ideas are weird, but they're not weird. They're just logical. But I don't think the world is thinking logically. And I think that we lump ourselves into categories where most people, like if you think of it on an individualistic level, if you're like, what are my real ideas in this situation? Okay, you're going to come away with similar ideas to what we're talking about. If you really think about it, like, really, you think that you think they should lose their entire livelihood because they didn't get a vaccine, so they can't cross the border. If you ask somebody that, and if they're like staunch in their belief of like, what is the socially generally accepted narrative, people would be like, yeah, they should get the vaccine. But then if you really think about it, it's like, well, that doesn't affect me. The numbers are pretty low. If you choose not to get the vaccine, I mean, I wouldn't want to be put in that situation where I'm forced to, you know what I mean? Like, you start to think about it. But I think like collectively as a hive, human beings are more of a swarm than an individual. And I think that's what makes us weird, because we're looking at it more individualistically. You know, it's like, but by individualistic, I mean more like objectively.
Right, outside the norm.
Like, right. But whereas most people are just like, it's like a swarm. It's like, what is the hive thinking today? Let's move in this direction. Whereas we're like, wait, what is the alternative to that thing? And then what does that actually mean for the situation? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if you want
But like, how were they thinking that though? Or they're not thinking like, what is the swarm thinking?
No, they're not. No, they're not, because they're not thinking. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
There's no individualistic thought. It's like, let me just go about my day to day. I'm gonna live and die. I'm gonna live and die. I'm gonna live my life. I feel like my life is important, but you're really just a part of the exact same thing. Like when you all right, here's a great idea. When you say equality for all, do you mean equality for races too? Because they're part of the all, but nobody thinks like that. It's equality for people who are thinking about equal rights for all. So it's inclusive equality. It's not actual real equality.
Right.
Right. But again, who really thought about that? I'm sure you thought about that.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. But that's what I mean. And it's like, it's tripping me out.
Like
Nobody thought about that?
Like the equality thing. It popped into my head where it was like the whole freedom of speech thing.
Yeah.
And I think it was in the U.S. There were Nazis.
Okay.
That were speaking their mind, but they were trying to basically get rid of their freedom of speech or something. But it was, but the person who's like, I think the government thing who's looking at it was a Jewish person. He said, no, they have the right to say whatever they want.
That's interesting.
That's what freedom of speech means in America. But
Totally. Right.
But who's going to be, that's not what's happening today, right?
That's what
Where
I mean.
it's like,
it's tripping me out.
You have to, well, that's why I liked it. It was a Jewish person who said it like,
totally.
Like, no, they have the right to speak
They
it.
still didn't care. They're like, it's like, dude, above all, I should, like, not me, but I mean, like, the Jewish person speaking, he's like, above all, I should have the most say in this. Like, a good example is also Stylebender. So, like, the N-word thing that came out with Joe Rogan?
Yeah.
So Stylebender at the press conference, somebody asked Dana White about the N-word thing, and he's like, guys, I'll field this one. I'm black. I'll field this one. And he's like, no, Joe Rogan's not racist, blah, blah, blah. He's a nice guy. And I'm like, but nobody's going to listen to that. Because that's not the swarm mentality right now. The swarm mentality right now is, let's all attack this Joe Rogan guy because of a video that 90% of us probably didn't even watch. Like, I had to look for that video. I had to, like, it was like deep dive to find that video.
Yeah.
It wasn't like trending on social media.
No, these are not recent. Oh, you mean the video of that clip?
And that clip, the N-word thing.
Oh, the clip.
It wasn't like all over my feed. Like, I had to Google it and be like, okay, where's this? All right, it's linked to a video and an article. Like, I had to, like, search for it.
Oh, okay.
But so, like, when people are like, oh yeah, Joe Rogan's racist, how many people actually heard? How many people actually watched that video?
I don't think as many people.
Totally. And that's the Aziz Ansari stand-up where he's like, how many people saw the Nazi swastika being put on the pizza? And then, like, people clapped, and he's like, who thought it would look like a swastika? Who thought it didn't? And he's like, the joke is, I actually made that whole thing up. So why did you guys clap at all? But that's our swarm mentality now.
Right.
And I think I'm just, like, waking up to that realization that we really do think like a swarm.
Okay.
I think if you're in, like, the academic field, this is totally fine to, like, think like this. Because, like, your job's pretty secure. You're meant to test the boundaries. But I feel like if you want to be in society, in order to join those structured institutions, you also have to present yourself to be a part of the swarm.
Right.
Right. Like, really think about that. Like, do you think KPMG is going to hire me if they listen to this podcast? KPMG, do you know who they are?
No.
It's like the big accounting firm. Like, it's global accounting firm.
Okay.
So
yeah,
that's what I mean.
It's probably better to hire people that are like-minded than be different-minded.
Yeah, totally. And but that is the realize that we don't live in a meritocracy society. We don't live in a society where it's like, oh, you did a lot of good things. Maybe, like, if you are an extreme outlier like Elon Musk, right? If Elon Musk didn't make PayPal, we wouldn't care who Elon Musk was. He'd just be a fringe person thinking about trying to get to Mars, right? But that's an extreme case, right? But I think in general, we live in a network-based society, not a meritocracy-based society. It's not about what you've done, but who you know.
Yeah, that happens a lot, yeah.
But it's blowing my mind because I didn't really think about this until this week. And I was like, do you really think about that? You know what I mean? Like, I've been.
No, I've probably before, as now at this point it's like, okay, that's just the way the world is.
Right, totally. And I think jumping from like job to like, if you stick to one thing, your perspective is within that one thing. And I was like I've worked now for a myriad of nonprofits, and like one for-profit company, well, actually a couple. But so in each of those, I'm like, oh, we're not selecting the best ones. We're following a structured stream. Like I feel like if I stay with one thing for like 5 years, they're just gonna bump me up, right? And it didn't matter what I did. It would just be like, because people would leave, they need to fill a position.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just you're jigsaw puzzling.
Yeah.
It's not actually like, wow, you really did great. I love your ideas. You know, like let me try and make these ideas happen because they logically make sense. That would be meritocracy. It's like, yeah, this makes sense. We're gonna go with this, versus like, oh, this person left. We're just gonna fill this role with you. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I feel like that's how organizations as a whole, and I think the world is like that too. Like it's just like a jigsaw puzzle of moving people around. Yeah.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, right. And
for the
like,
most part, yeah.
It's like, what does that mean for solutions?
That's why solutions come much more slower rate.
Yeah. And like, who could we? What kind of society would we be with? Like, if the leadership boiled down to the best person for the best job versus the one who can merit the most votes, aka popularity, what kind of world would we live in? Right? Like, you listen to like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Elon Musk, you know, like these really like objective minds, but we don't place. They're like academics. You know, they're like, oh, they're the thinkers, they're the inventors, but they're not leaders for or like how we run the world.
Yeah.
And it's like, what kind of world would we have if we place that at the top of the pyramid, not like the side of the pyramid?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've heard that before. Yeah.
Oh, really?
It's like putting scientists up versus like, you know, versus like politicians. They don't really know
it's
the
like, what do you really know? You're going with something that you believe. Like, you're playing a political game of votes.
Yeah.
And it's like, why are we playing this game? We should be advancing society. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, but before I move into that, because like I just watched the Hitler movie, and I just want to talk about how that's like very relative to our current times.
Sure.
Because this is actually very much aligned. Like, why did Hitler get into office? Because of like his popularity. He created like. All right, but before I get into that, my answer, because I was thinking about this and it just came to me, it's the Vince Staples mindset. You know, the rapper.
Yeah.
So like, remember how everyone's like, oh, you don't create like rap. He's like, no, I'm trying to make music to get synced, because syncing music is syncing. Like, they'll use it for like football games, commercials. Like, he's like, I don't really care about the art. I care about like what's gonna be bought by corporations.
Yeah. Right.
You know, and he's like, I'm just gonna be doing that and then minding my own business over here. And it's like, that's kind of like the sage's mindset too. Like, where they left society, you know, they lived in like the mountains. They're just like, dude, I'm just gonna like I'm gonna curate my own little bubble over here, because the world you can't change. And I think that is the answer. So if you're like listening to this and you're like, oh, I also think like that too. It's like, the world's kind of weird. It's like, maybe the real answer is like, you can't change the world. You can only curate your little bubble. You know, because even the people that the real change agents, let's say like Drake, he's playing a game. He's not being authentically himself, even though he'll tell you he is.
No, I don't. Yeah, no.
No, watch a whole video on it.
Actually. No, he's not.
He's not.
It doesn't feel like it.
I watched a whole video, like the best acting job Drake. I think like the biggest con artist in rap is Drake. It's like a YouTube video. You should check it out. So, but like, they said like everyone's like, oh, he's an actor, and like his biggest role they thought was like Degrassi, but it was actually being a rapper. Because like he even said like, oh, I never saw my dad, and then they showed this clip of his dad being like, I had to be like, yo, Drake, why are you saying that, man? Like you're making me
Yeah,
look bad to
yeah,
the public. He's like, Dad, it sells albums.
yeah.
So it's like, are you really about that life, or are you presenting that manicure life? Are you like the best marketer we've ever seen?
Yeah, that's like a lot of those stories are not real. Like
I know.
there's a lot of that's it's marketing. It's made up
Yeah.
to sell.
And a lot of the people that are real, like their stories are real, like Vince Staples and Kendrick Lamar, they don't post on social media. They're not trying to get attention. They're doing stuff behind the scenes. Because they're like, we don't want to play this game. We just want to make money and like make our lives better. They're curating their own little garden,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's the answer to all of this. It's like you really have to curate your own garden. Or play the game.
Yeah, I think it depends. It's your level of like mental stability kind of thing. Where
I mean,
maybe he like Drake just wants
there's like a hole he's trying
attention.
to fill.
Yeah.
I
Like
think
he's
so
got.
too.
That's what I'm saying. Like something like that. He's probably got.
Yeah.
Versus
Like
the other guys
insecurity.
are more stable. Like that's like
Yeah.
mentally stable people.
Do you see that? Did you see that one video of Matthew Perry saying that he beat up Trudeau?
I didn't see the video.
Okay, so they were talking about it. It was Matthew Perry and another comedian, and they went to the same school, so they beat up Trudeau.
Okay.
He's like, I'm not trying to like advocate for this, but he's like, in some way, I feel like I helped elevate Trudeau to this level because he like was like, I'll get you one day. I'll be more famous and better. He's like, yeah, he's doing better than both of us. He's the prime minister of Canada. You know what I mean? And it's like, I feel like a lot of these stories are people like these ultra A types who will do anything to win, who will sell their soul for anything. It's like you're filling a hole and you're trying to outrun the hole, and you're trying to plug it with things that you think will make that hole go away, but it won't go away. You know, so you're constantly in the chase until you realize that the hole is like your own broken psyche. You know? Yeah. I don't know, trippy.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So anyways, the Hitler thing, that movie you were suggesting. So that
What was
movie,
it called? Do you remember the name?
Oh man, I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. I'll look it up. I'll look it up.
So the thing that tripped me out about that movie is it's not even a it's a thriller, but nothing really happens in the movie. Like it's super anticlimactic. It was about like signing this treaty with like Britain and Hitler. And the thing is that because you know what's going to happen later in the future, there's going to be World War II, right? But at that time, they don't know that it's going to happen. So you see all the things that lead up to that event, right? And maybe think about like our time now, and maybe think of like Trump, like with the whole "Make America Great Again." That was like nationalism, like
Yeah.
you know, and it's like that level of nationalism is what propelled Hitler to the top. And then I could see echoes of that happening, you know, in more recent times. And then what it made me forget about is like, we also don't know what's going on behind the scenes that are going to lead up to like a potential World War III. Not that there'll be a World War III. Not that like I'm predicting that, because I don't think like with our technology, it would be like so destructive, and I don't think anybody wants to get into that. But like we only see like the end result of something. We never see the lead up to something.
Right. Okay.
And that's why the movie was so genius. You found it?
Yeah. Munich, The Edge of War.
Yeah. So check that out, because it's like it's not even like usually World War II movies are about like, you know, shooting. There's like no shooting in this movie.
Like you're in the battle, like the general.
We already know what the enemy is. The enemy is Hitler.
Yeah.
In this movie, it's more like he's rising to power. So you're kind of like, is this guy? Well, I mean, you know, through history he becomes who he is.
Yeah.
But like in the movie, it's like you see the slow development of it, which is what history is mostly like.
Right.
Like Elon Musk said, this is like history is just a series of boring moments with intermittent moments of like craziness. You know, it's like boring. Oh, something crazy happened. Then boring. Like
Right.
most people are just living out their lives.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So like this movie is more of like it shows you the monotony of things that lead to bigger things.
Okay. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah. Nothing just happens. I think that's like something I
Yeah.
learned a long time ago from one of the teachers. So nothing just happens.
Teachers?
There's something.
What?
Like there's always it's
No,
like
you said teachers?
yeah,
What?
or a teacher.
Oh, you heard this from a teacher?
Yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah.
cool. All right, go ahead.
That there's always something happening to go to that point.
Yeah.
It's not like next day it just happens.
Yes.
No, there's always a lead up.
Yeah, and we never think about that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think. I think that's like if you look at everything that's going on right now, like there are so many moving parts to post COVID. We said this in the beginning, like once COVID's done, the next thing is like what's the economic downturn? Like you have to solve that puzzle next. Because like yeah, okay, we got vaccines and people, but you just kind of either delayed or sped up the inevitable. Because we were talking about it at jiu-jitsu too, like people in the change rooms, they were saying how like it used to cost them like $40 to fill up their car. Now it's $100 plus. You know, even me, like yesterday, like Tara's car is super economical, but like it was $65. That's when I had to stop it. I was like, this is too high now. Like, but like it was like it hit over $65
Yeah.
to fill up her car. Usually it was like
And I hear the price is
30,
going
40
up.
bucks.
Like
Yeah,
the price
why
of
not?
gas will be going up even during the summer.
Yeah, so like these are warning signs. Nobody's paying attention to this. You know, and if you bring this up, again, it goes back to that thing where it's like, dude, nobody wants to hear that. Well, what is the swarm thinking? What are we gonna, you know, like shouldn't this be more of a pressing issue to everyone?
It's just more as taught as, oh, the price of gas is this, not necessarily why the price of gas is this.
That's what I mean. We look at it on the superficial level. Oh, the price of gas today is this.
Yeah.
But as soon as you go, why is the price of gas
Yeah.
like this?
Or
They're
like
hey,
like
you're
why?
thinking too much.
Yeah, like it's going to be increased in the summer. Okay, why is it going to be increased in the summer?
That's what I've been saying, and that's what keep going back to the weirdo concept because I think
For that kind of stuff, you have to be more of an individual and go look, like search into these things, right?
right.
Because news is just headlines,
And I think
like general headlines for general people.
but then you get labeled like weird if you think about those things.
Yeah, so those are, that's sure.
Or you just blame it on little things like, oh, it's the truckers, oh, it's logistics, but it's like no, there's like a whole global economic chain of events that's going on.
Yeah.
It's not just one thing. You know.
Yeah, that's
Like food prices went up. It's insane. It's so expensive. They said that you're going to be spending an extra like $1,200 or $1,500 a month, a year on groceries, which is not a lot. That's like an extra $100, right? But like, if our income doesn't increase, but our like expenses increase, well, we're creating a problem, you know. But we've seen this in the past. This is like the Great Depression.
yeah.
Nobody's talking about this. Nobody's worried about this. Like, what are we talking about? Like, what are our priorities?
Yeah,
See what I mean? Like, but it's weird to think about.
yeah. I agree. Yeah, it's
And that's my crisis of conscience this entire week.
like there
I
are
was like,
some people thinking about this. This is not like a normal thing to think about. But
yeah, and it's not a normal thing. It's like you just accept it.
right.
But that's what I keep saying about like the swarm. Like we're more as a society, we operate more like a swarm than we do as individuals.
Yeah.
Yeah. The food price thing is like that's like so scary. That's like that's actually I was saying to you guys that my next line of like nonprofit work, if I can find it. It's hard to find like nonprofits that are supporting that kind of thing, but like something about like housing, because the crazy part is, so I don't think I've said this actually on the podcast, but I've told you guys about it. Like from the 1940s to the 1990s, the government was in charge of housing, and it is because of post World War One, World War Two, World War Two. So because of that, army people were coming back home, but they had no money. So what the government did was they built their own homes, and they sold them for very low prices. That's why like Tara's grandma bought a house for $12,000 cash. She was an immigrant.
Right.
12,000. Right. How much they cost now? But that's because there was a shift in 1992 where the government gave it over to the private contractors. They're like, okay, we're done building the houses. You guys take over. And because they're all about profit, like they were like, okay, we can increase our profit yearly if we just tweak a few things. And that's why the cost of rent has gone up, but the price of our wages haven't gone up. Like at the same rate, you know?
Yeah. Right.
And there's a new thing now that I was like brought onto. I had no idea about this. It's called rent. What do you call that? Rent bidding. So like, before you could bid on a house, right? So it's like that's normal. But now you can bid on renting. So if somebody's like, oh, I want this location, and you're like, okay, I'll pay $1,000 a month. And they're like, yeah, but I'll pay $1,500. So you start escalating the price,
Right.
to create competition, where that was not a thing before.
Yeah.
It was like these are all the things that are leading us down the wrong path. You know, but I feel like it also happened in 2008 with the economic bubble, the housing crisis.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a term called like kicking the can down the road, and like we just keep kicking the can down the road. It's like, we'll kick it, we're like somebody else's problem. You know, like 2008, how do we solve this? Kick it down the road, print more money. You know, and then now we're at this point where how do we keep our house of cards together?
Yeah.
Right? Scary. Who's thinking about this? You know? And then if you actually thought about this, wouldn't you make better decisions? Right? Like, should I sign this mortgage for $2 million? I don't know. You know? Yeah. Thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I understand what you're saying. Like the price of stuff, like the 2008 thing was they were giving out homes to people who couldn't really afford it.
Yeah,
right?
default. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so if you don't know what that is, like, so if the house was like $2 million or something, they'd just, and the person had bad credit, they'd be like, okay, we'll sign it over to you on the assumption that you're gonna be able to pay. But they did like no background checks. They didn't do sufficient background checks. Yeah. And then people just defaulted. They're like, we can't pay this anymore. So then if you can't pay your debt, it's like a chain. So think this is the best way I can explain it. So like if you owe me money, right? And somebody owes you money, and you need to wait for that person to pay you in order for you to pay me, what if that person at the end of the chain can't pay you? Then I can't get paid.
Right.
So that's basically what happened with the economic crisis.
That's basically what happened, and it happened all at once. So that's why the crash happened.
But that's how economics works. It's like, we'll just use the 3-person example. So somebody owes you money, you owe me money, but then I take your debt to build another opportunity with a 4th person, and then the chain goes on and on and on, and that's how the economic structure of North America is generally set up as. Well, globally too, because like we have a global chain, but if one link in that chain breaks, then you kind of mess up the whole chain. But they didn't expect all of the chains to break.
Exactly.
Which is what happened 2008.
Which is what happened. Yeah.
How many people remember 2008? It's still in people's minds. Did people watch The Big Short? Do you see what I mean about like the hive mentality? Like, do we not learn our lessons? Are we not thinking about this? Guys, this could be a problem.
Yeah. I mean, there's been multiple times of a recession, right? Throughout even like our parents' time, like 80s.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
There was another one. Then 2008 again. Just like it's inevitable that it's going to happen again
Yeah, totally.
if we don't fix those issues.
But
we don't
we
fix
seem
the
to
issues.
not fix the issues.
No, we don't. No, that's why they keep happening.
But to be fair, there was no internet back then, so
Sure.
maybe
Maybe it'll be different.
Maybe it'll be different. Maybe we'll all watch The Big Short. We'll stream it. Be like, maybe that's not smart. But you're also like, I feel like.
But then, what did he say at the end of that movie?
No, they'll just blame someone else.
Who are they going to blame?
The Arabs,
The immigrants.
immigrants. Yeah.
They're taking away your jobs.
Yeah, true. And then Trump came in.
And then Trump came. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like eventually Trump came in, who was using the same tactics.
Right. Yeah. Like, I really think it'll take like maybe 3 or 4 generations for this thing to fix itself, because
To fix itself?
because there's no internet.
Okay.
So I think the lack of internet really, like, it made people more of a swarm because you couldn't look into things. It's so simple now.
Sure.
If you're like, all right, you listen to this, you're like, how does global economics work? Go watch a YouTube video on it.
Mm-hmm.
Go take an online course.
Right.
You didn't have that back then. If you were like, how does global economics work? You'd have to like actually go to school for that. I think we're becoming more generalist as a society.
Yeah.
Like, we're becoming more like, I know a little about a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I can piece it all together, which is kind of what they were saying. Like,
isn't that like that phrase, master of none, but
jack of all trades, master
jack of all
of
trades.
none.
Yeah.
Very true. Yes.
But it's the full phrase at the end, I think, was it's still better than master of one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Are you here first? I've never heard that. Jack of all trades, master of none, but it's still better than being a master of one.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Is that for sure? Is that for sure though? Like, you gotta Google that.
I read that.
I like that. I like that line. Or is that just how somebody like adapted it?
I think that was it master? What did you say? Jack of all trades, right?
Yeah, master of none, but it's better than being a master of one. Still better than being a master of one. Gotta make sure that's real, because I like that.
I think it is real. Let me check. Full quote. Okay, what is the... Okay, yeah. Complete saying is, a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than master of one.
I like that line. All right. That's cool. Yeah, because then you can become so siloed into your own thing. Thank God that that's the full thing. Because I was like, wait, it's still better to know more about a lot. So I think that's what they said. They were saying that that's where we're headed as a society, because computers and algorithms can fill the place of specialization now.
Mm-hmm.
But what we need is more like generalist thinkers that can see the whole thing, not just the parts, right? Because before it would be like, what widgets are?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's just a common thing they use in like accounting all the time. How many widgets? Blah, blah, blah. Anyways,
Okay.
So that's why it always comes to my mind, because I think of class. So if you're like a master of creating widgets, right? You're just thinking about widgets, which are like these little cog pieces. But what does a widget do? Like, nobody, like before, the old time before the internet, it was like, just be a master of creating widgets. But like, now we're able to be like, no, the computer will make the widget. Where do I fit the widget in to make a bigger thing? And I think that like it'll take 3 or 4 generations for that to become the case, where everyone's thinking more about like high level than like low. Like, it's so simple, you can get a computer to do so many automated programs that they can become like the specialist. You need to be able to look at everything and be like, okay, where are we headed? We need to be like ship steerers.
Yeah.
And that's like the theory. That's what a lot of scientists were saying.
Okay.
as where we're headed as a society because of the internet. Like, you could just Google things now, literally, if you're like,
Yeah.
what is that? Like, especially as we assimilate more and more towards technology and like with the augmented reality contacts, if I don't know what you're saying, I can just pull up Google Trans like a dictionary. You know, I do that often actually. I'll be like reading a book, I'm like, what does that word mean? And I'll Google it. You know, whereas before that wasn't a thing. You'd have to like go buy a dictionary.
But yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
or have a dictionary on hand right beside you.
yeah,
But
totally.
who's going to do that?
Who's gonna do that?
Yeah.
The bandwidth, that like there's it takes more bandwidth back then
Yeah.
to do things,
Right,
but now
right,
it's a lot
right.
shorter, the bandwidth. You know, and that'll be an interesting society. Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe maybe but who knows? Maybe we'll still keep on thinking like a swarm. I don't know. What do you think?
Probably would still be pockets. I think it might take time for that
That's
kind
what I'm
of.
saying, 3 or 4 generations.
Yeah.
Because you need like the old world to die. You need it to be like, what do you mean there was no internet?
Right.
But I think that's why I'm saying that we're in this transitionary phase because like we remember the internet and no internet. Right? We can still recall what it's like not to Google something.
Yeah.
Or
Right.
like when people were like, don't Google anything. You know, you can't trust what you read on the internet.
Yeah.
You know,
That was one of the things that were taught to us as kids.
Right?
Don't trust the internet.
yeah. Like if you're citing a paper, find a book. But it's like oftentimes the internet's much more accurate than a book
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it pulls in different sources.
Exactly.
It's more up to date. How long does a publication take?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Internet.
Yeah, but who knows? We could actually just go further and further down the wrong rabbit hole with the internet because of the because of like
There will be pockets.
headlines.
Sorry.
Because of headlines.
Right. Yeah. There will
Headlines
be
could how
pockets
we're
of
gonna be
that.
swarming.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, a lot of people that are falling for that kind of thing, I feel like, they don't understand how the internet works. Like,
Yeah, true. Yeah, true. I think, but that's why I said 3 or 4 generations. I think we need to go through the growing. I think we're in the growing pains right now. Like, oh, algorithms run a lot of what we do. You know, like I have this young Yoda quote that's like, algorithms are the real agents of change, because it's like what you see online on a daily basis is going to reinforce
yeah.
a certain belief system. So if they want you to change something, they'll just start feeding you different input. But the problem is you can't even escape it. You know, like Aziz Ansari's like, oh, I got a flip phone. It's like, cool for you. But like, who's going to revert back to that? You're going to be like left in the dust.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool because you're a millionaire.
Yeah.
But us regular people, we have to integrate with technology. Yeah. It'd be interesting to see where it's going. So speaking of times before the internet, Amazing Race, you were mentioning this week about how, because you started from like the very beginning and they had like AOL.
The early parts of the internet.
Yeah. So I just want to like highlight that because I thought it was so funny. If you've never,
Yeah, because watching all these, rewatching these old ones, it's like how much actually was
Changed.
different. You forget.
when did Amazing Race come out? Right, it was like days before 9/11. You said.
Yeah, when the first season came out. Yeah.
So
2001, right?
yeah, 2001. It's been 20 years, 21 years,
Yeah.
almost 21 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in that time, like you got to see like dial up. If you go back on those, ones, like even in, do you remember like the really early days? I wrote this in the notes that to bring up, but like the CDs, the internet CDs. So like right now it's like we have this subscription model towards the internet, right? But most people back in the day, they would have to like buy, if you wanted free internet, you'd have to buy these CDs that came with like a 1 month free package of the internet. Like I think it was like Netscape or something. They'd give away those CDs for free. You get them like in the mail, but then
Yeah.
I remember my uncle once. He just collected a bunch of those CDs. So like he'd have like a stack of them. So it's like when this month's done, we'll just switch the CD. But the internet was so rudimentary back then. It was just like pages, you know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Sometimes these are like early technologies. You actually don't know where it's going to go, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then you see where it's at now, right? It's crazy.
It's like instantaneous. I remember when like for an image, like let's say like a 2 megabyte image, that loads instantaneously now, right? But that took like 5 minutes to let that picture load.
Yeah.
Or like you'd click on a photo and then you'd have to wait for it to like
Yeah. It was accepted patience in a way. Like we were right, but like now we're impatient.
Now we're super impatient. We're like, if it doesn't take less than a millisecond,
if it doesn't, something's wrong.
Yeah, check your coding, bro. Maybe there's some like issues within the way you coded this website. Too many security issues. Bump down the resolution of your images. Like, you know, like stuff like that. It's like that would be my first thought. I'm like, but only because we become that. We become so accustomed to speed. Yeah. You know? Yeah. We don't remember where it was in the beginning.
Yeah, it was a gradual thing, right? Yeah. Like for us, because we saw it getting faster. Like we got used to this point now.
But the crazier revelation is it's only been 20 years.
I know.
So like, that's a mind blow. Well, technically 93 is when the internet came out. So it's been like 29 years.
For the internet to grow. Yeah,
to grow.
Yeah.
But like 93 when it came out publicly because they were working on it before. But like, if you really think about how far we've come, it's really scary. The progress, right? Yeah. Yeah, and how we've integrated it so much into our lives. Like think about your driving, something super ubiquitous. We've all done this. You're driving towards the movie theater. Oh, make sure you buy the tickets before the line gets there. Purchase the tickets on your phone. That's all internet based. If the Wi-Fi or the internet's down, like we're back in the Stone Ages. You can't do like very simple things like get some Uber.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So with this like rate of change, where will it be headed like in the future? You know? And then we're going to seem like super dinosaurs. Even the fact that we're talking about this right now, like a 12-year-old kid has no conception of what we're talking about. Like I was born with the iPad.
Yeah. There's nothing before the iPad. So what are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's always been the iPad.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
Like playing outside, totally foreign. You know, I see it sometimes like kids are like biking, but that's so rare as well.
Yeah.
We need to take inventory sometimes, I think. But so in relation to that, I was listening to this podcast with Randall Carlson. He's talking about like global disruption and like given like geo-analytical analysis, like he's a geologist, right? So he could see like at these different levels, it seems like the Earth has been impacted by some sort of asteroid or like a volcano. That like it went around the whole world. So like for example, while I'm talking to like the geology level, I'll talk about this one example he brought up. But this woolly mammoth, it had food still in its stomach when it died, and it died of being frozen. So they said that for the food to still be intact in his stomach, he would have been flash frozen within 10 hours. So it was so cold that his whole body froze perfectly in 10 hours.
Yeah.
So what could have caused that, right? Again, another thing that nobody thinks about. So like what it really got me thinking about was how, because we're so dependent on electronics and like the internet and stuff, if something like a solar flare happened or you know,
well, something did happen about solar flare recently.
Oh really? What? Okay.
It affected like the Starlink satellites.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I didn't know about that.
So they were trying to something like they can put them in safe mode, I believe, but it wasn't coming back out of it or something happened. So they lost what they just recently put those satellites up there. They just lost like all those satellites or most of the satellites.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And what did that affect? Did it affect like transportation? Is there something like?
Well, I mean, as for their own thing was building the internet thing, right? The Starlink internet. So they would have to replace those ones, right?
Oh, they're like fully out of commission.
I think they're out of commission. But these are things that are outside of the Earth that we have. That's got to be dealt with for satellites, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you have to put them in safe mode so that they're not working, so they don't have any electrical issues.
Wow, that's so
or
trippy.
something like that. Yeah.
But see, even that, right? So like a solar flare happened, we had to fix it. So like, this is why Elon Musk, like, so Randall Carlson was talking about how like we have to off-world as a species, or else we're going to be subject to the Great Filter, which is civilization's going to die.
Yeah.
And actually, Elon Musk, I think it was Elon Musk or Avi Loeb, he was talking about like as we travel through space. No, it was Elon Musk. As we travel through space and past different planets, we're probably going to see like dead civilizations. Like the further out we go, you know, if they haven't become spacefaring, and that's what could potentially happen for us as humans, right? So like I was thinking about our global supply chain right now and how COVID like just totally eradicated it, you know, with like the trucking and like the, you know, we have such a fragile system. So like, what would happen if, you know, a global catastrophe happened, wiped out our internet, something like that. It was in Blade Runner too. Blade Blackout.
Yeah.
We lost all our data.
Right. Yes.
For a specific time, and that's why it looks so like apocalyptic, the world, because they're building back.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, if like, I feel like we'd be more appreciative of our life if we took inventory on how fragile our life really is.
I think these are the lessons from those apocalyptic movies that they're trying to teach us to.
Yeah, totally.
Remember where we are right now.
But then my question becomes, so why are you on the rat race? So why are you like, remember the two different
yeah
like the swarm mentality, where it's like, why is it when you think about these things you seem atypical to the generally accepted narrative? It's because like most people, it's the Matrix, right? We just want to stay asleep, and then there's certain people that are kind of awake and they're like, what's going on here? It's making no sense. You know?
Yeah.
But then, I mean, I guess there's levels, right? Because we look at preppers and we're like, oh, they're kind of weird. But like, I'm sure preppers think that we're weird because like, why aren't you guys paying attention?
Yeah.
Randall Carlson was saying he has like 6 months worth of food in his house, like canned food. I'm like, that's kind of weird. But like, he probably thinks we're not taking this seriously enough. You know?
Yeah. Right.
So I guess there's like levels.
Sure. Yeah. But at that point, I mean, if the world is done,
would you want to be around?
6 months, you're waiting around, or you're dead now. It's
that's true.
There's levels to that too, right?
Yeah, true. Would you even want to be around during that apocalyptic time?
Yeah.
Like even we saw with like what Tonga.
Yeah.
The volcano.
Yeah.
So it's like their lives are completely uprooted, and that was like a tiny issue. So imagine this like happened in Silicon Valley. You know, like let's say a global catastrophe hit Apple headquarters, we wouldn't have an iPhone next year.
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, it's so fragile. Everything is so fragile. Especially when we rely on these little boxes and wires that power everything. You know, by that I mean like modems and like power lines.
Yeah. That's why we need to off-world.
That's why we need to off-world, just in case it happens.
As if for humanity reasons.
But then you sound kind of weird when you say we need to colonate Mars.
That's what he was saying the other day.
Well,
like the SpaceX, he had another update.
Okay.
Which is reiterating the same thing, which is
we need to colonate
we should off-world.
Yeah.
Like as soon as possible, because
and I think if you,
anything can happen.
Yeah, totally. And I think like people like Randall Carlson, I think like somebody as genius as Elon Musk, he's read into this. He's looked into it. He's like, this is making a lot of sense. We need to like safeguard our species somehow. But I always go back to this question. It's like, why is that a weird thing to think about?
Well, to us, it's not weird.
It's not weird. No, it's not weird to us. But why is it a weird thing for generally accepted like conversation? Think about this. Think about this.
Mm-hmm.
What's the first thing you're gonna talk about when you meet somebody random?
What do I talk about?
Yeah, random. Like you're just like, oh, like hello on the street, or like you're in an elevator with somebody. I generally don't talk in elevators, but
Yeah.
let's say you have to strike up a conversation.
Okay,
with
gotcha.
somebody.
Just the weather, maybe.
Weather.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like, oh, can you believe those truckers? Man. Yeah.
It was just
I
being.
hope everything goes back to normal
Yeah,
soon.
yeah. Just trying to be polite. You're not really.
You're right. And I think that most people in society are just being polite to one another.
Yes, I agree with that.
Right? It's like it's just superficial conversation. It's like, what are we talking about, bro? But if you want to talk about something real, then it's kind of weird.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
But sometimes it can be, but nobody does that, right? Like it can be surprising
Of course.
if you do talk about something real and then they engage.
It can be off-putting.
It could be off-putting. There's two chances. It's 50-50.
Yeah, but that's why you have to take the Vince Staples approach, and you're just like, I'm just gonna do me, and like,
Yeah.
you know, if you don't want to be a part of it, you don't have to be a part of it.
Right.
But that's also a luxury state, you know. Like, he has luxury to do that.
Yeah.
You know, you're not gonna get work at like KPMG, something like that. Guys, you know the world's gonna end soon. You know, or like we're so fragile.
That person's considered a weirdo. You don't want him here.
Just do your goddamn accounting numbers and go back to your goddamn cubicle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
You know, it's like this is the battle we're fighting.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like, oh wait, like being conscious towards reality or not, like being a drone. And then you know what's weird too? I think that these people, they feel it. I think you're either faced. This is a total assumption, but I could see how this is a reality.
Sure.
You're either faced with listening to it and then heartbreak it on the inside. So you're gonna go back to your cubicle and you're gonna think about it. You're gonna be like, man, this is crazy. Why am I in this job? Blah blah blah. Or you're gonna be like, no, that's not real. I'm gonna go back to my cubicle, drown myself in like a Chardonnay tonight, hang out with the boys. You know what I mean? Like either you suppress it or you go back to your cubicle and you think about it.
Okay.
And I feel like both they're gonna have their cracking points. The person that's thinking about it is going to shift their perspective and perhaps their job. And then the person that's suppressing it will one day realize that this was true and be like, oh, I wasted my life, blah, blah, blah. You know? I think so. I don't actually know because I'm not that person.
Right.
But I can see how like those two realities would play out. Yeah. Whereas on the other side, like on the flip side of the coin, like we can be thinking about it, but it's like, but we need to make rent, so we need to somehow fit into society still. So it's like it's a delicate balance, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unless you work for like SpaceX or something, and then you're like, I totally agree with you guys' mission. That's the hardest thing to do. It's like the article that I had to read. It was about like people shifting their jobs so quickly, you know, and I had to give a commentary on it. But like, I think what people lack is true passion towards what it is they're working on.
Yeah, I think that's what that is. Yeah.
They're like, why do young people keep shifting jobs? I'm like, they're not passionate about your message. They're just looking for a paycheck.
Right.
And like, I feel like there's very few things to be passionate about because there's always like, unless you create it yourself. That's the other thing, right? Like create your own passion.
Yeah.
But like just the way society's structured, it's never for the optimization of. All right, you know what it is? If you try and please everyone, you please no one. Right? You've heard that before, right?
Yeah.
If you try and please everyone, you please no one. But that's how our society's structured. We try and please everyone, so nobody's pleased. Right? Think about the work of a politician. always going to piss off someone.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So if you know you're going to piss off someone, why don't you just focus on like the most optimal good, like the best situation? Stop riding the lines because you're just not going to please anyone.
Yeah. If you're writing the lines, that's why. I think there's more respect in people who stick to their thing.
At least you know it fully. You're not like an actor.
Yeah, if you come off wishy-washy.
Yeah. Like if you you know what? If you come off wishy-washy, that either means you're lying to me or you just haven't you haven't just formulated your own opinion.
Yeah.
You haven't like thought about it enough to formulate your own opinion. Both are like negative.
Yeah.
So I think that's why the people who think about their opinion and they're like, no, this is really what it is. I think people gravitate towards those people because they've actually thought about these things. And I think people are like lacking a sense of introspection in life. I think a lot of people just don't introspect. Or like they do maybe when they're high and they're like, oh, this is high talk.
Yeah, right. Throw it away as high talk, yeah.
But it's like, but these are real conundrums. Are not so weird, but it's, if you look at the nature of marijuana, the way it was created, or like the way it's pervasive around the world, it's very easy to grow. It's like a weed, you know? It's called weed.
Yeah, that's what this is.
I know, because it is weed. That's why it was, It's actually like a weed, like dandelions, right? So it's not like it's very difficult to make. So why is it that God or nature or the universe created this thing that's really, it's like usable for paper, it's good for cancer, it helps you think outside the box, you can use it for concrete now that they're finding. It's the strongest rope. Like, why did we get gifted this one amazing plant and we vilify it? You know, like maybe there's something to this plant. It's not even like mushrooms. Like people are like, oh, mushrooms are real like psychedelic, right? But like you can't do anything else aside from psychedelics with it. But I'm saying like cannabis as a plant has so many benefits to it that it's like it's almost like the miracle weed.
Right.
That's kind of weird in itself. Like, why does this one thing have so many benefits to it? Not just psychedelic benefits. Like,
no, I understand. Yeah.
Like actual benefit. Like we can use this.
Yeah.
For like production. They have like hemp cream, non-psychoactive. It's like lotion. Hemp seeds. Hemp seeds is like for like protein, non-psychoactive.
Right.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's a little weird.
Yeah. True.
Like, I feel like there's a message here. Like, you guys should look more into this technology. But again, not generally accepted narrative. It just got legalized, bro. It just gets you high, bro.
Right. So that's why it had to take a few generations.
That's what I said, 3 generations from now. And then people would be like, hey, did you know you can make paper with cannabis? Bro, that's been around. Did you know that we can make concrete with cannabis? Bro, that's been around. Do you know that we eat for protein? Bro, that's been around. But it's just the generally accepted narrative at this time is that it's an evil thing that just became legal.
Yeah, that's a general thing, but it's still,
it's like the internet. Don't Google anything.
I get that, but it's also interesting that the government made that legal, right? Even though they follow this,
because that's because there's been a lot of like scientific push around it. It's not just because I read into like these scholars who are like studying it and they're like advocates for
No, yeah, I know
it.
that, but then they're not they're the minority though. They're not the majority, right?
Yeah.
But I'm saying
with the swarm, you need to slowly move the swarm.
Yeah.
If we just looked at it like,
well, we didn't even do not in a gradual sense. It was straight to legal, right?
For Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you know why? Because you want to get in. right? It's all politics. Like think about this. This is going to be the first. I think it's like in Don't Look Up too. They kind of like alluded to it. But like, imagine if you gave a regular person, look at this gigantic list of benefits and look at this like very tiny list of side effects, right? Like there is like schizophrenia associated with like cannabis consumption.
Sure.
But like, all right, aside from the psychedelic properties, there are all these like non-psychoactive elements that you can tap into for cannabis. Okay. So if you gave a person that piece of paper, they'd be like, oh, this is a no-brainer. We should use this thing, right? But you give it to a politician, they go, but what is the people think? What will get me elected? You know?
Yeah.
So it's like that in itself speaks to the swarm versus the individual. Like, why couldn't, like, any sound person would see that and be like, this makes total sense. But we're playing a game. That's the reality of the situation. Yeah. But who knows? Like I said, three generations, the game will be over.
We'll see.
If you put a scientist in charge instead of a politician, scientists be like, this makes sense.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Like, all right. So there's one disadvantage, which is psychotic break. Okay, let's put a warning label, guys, and be like, warning, you may have a psychotic break if you consume this in a psychoactive substance.
Yeah.
You know? But it took like forever to legalize it.
Yeah, I mean, it was legal before.
Yeah, it was. And then it became illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was propaganda, though.
Yeah, of course.
That's the Wyatt. Yeah. If you want to look into that, we won't go into it here, but you can look into that. The Culture High is a really great documentary about that, featuring Joe Rogan. Okay. Just a few more. I won't go through all this. Jackass Forever. Crazy what people will go through. It's just insane to me that people will actually do these things for our entertainment.
Our entertainment. It's our entertainment, yeah. It's not for their entertainment.
But looking at it for like scientifically, it's like, wow, the human body can endure a lot.
I guess that's what they're teaching us, yeah.
Yeah. If you look at it through that lens, you know. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely check it out. When it comes to download, I don't think it's or streaming. I mean, I don't think it's a movie watch. Although I did watch in theaters. Yeah, there's like a lot of poisonous animals being used in that movie. But which is crazy. Like, we all thought that if you got bit by a tarantula, you die, right? Apparently not. Or maybe they had like the antivenom on the side.
Well, yeah, I think they would have to have that, or it's like a certain amount of dose.
True. But why would you do that? Why would you, like, there's a scene in it where like somebody lets themselves get bitten by a tarantula. It's like, why would you do that?
Jeez.
Yeah. It's a weird. But I feel like that's archaic too. When I watched it, I was like, oh, this is like, they're also like in their 50s.
Yeah, I'm like, why are they still doing this?
Yeah, it's like, this is an old concept. Yeah. So one correction from last week. You were right. Remember how I was like, oh, The Rock supporting Joe Rogan?
Yeah.
So after we did the podcast, I saw on my feed, The Rock walks back his support.
Oh, yeah.
He was talking about the vaccine.
Only the vaccine
It wasn't
thing.
about the N-word thing.
Yeah, no.
And yesterday, Israel Adesanya, he fought, and Joe Rogan wasn't on the card. He said that there was a scheduling conflict, but then Dana White said there was no scheduling conflict. He just didn't want to do the event. I think it's because of all the controversy. Like,
yeah, just to stay away for now. Let it settle down a bit.
Yeah.
I think they were yelling, was it on, I saw someone Twitter saying, we want Joe Rogan or something like that.
Yeah, because
people were...
dope commentary.
Yeah.
They had someone else, and it was like, meh. Yeah. Anyways, Stylebender won, in case you're wondering.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was about to ask.
It wasn't like, he didn't knock him out, which I was shocked about.
Oh, it went to decision?
Yeah, went to decision.
Oh.
But like, that actually made sense to me, because it's like people are starting to clue into Stylebender's game.
Okay.
So now it's like they're able to nullify it a bit. You know? Yeah. Um, okay, one more thing before we get into monkeys, which is our final thing.
Okay.
The lucid dreaming thing. I thought this was kind of weird. I didn't look into the brain issue that you're saying,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
I found it weird that you don't lucid dream. A lot of people don't, but like you don't lucid dream,
No.
and I lucid dream.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that's like a like just think about like first question is like, do you dream? If you're listening to this, like, do you dream? And then do you know you're dreaming? And then if you know you're dreaming, do you consciously control the dream or try and wake up from it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that just like speaks like dreams are interesting because they're stimulated by DMT, and DMT is like we create endogenous DMT in our bodies,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is like a psychedelic substance, which is like found in dreams, found to be released in dreams. And they say that if you like smoke DMT, you're kind of unearthing some sort of trauma.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of people will be like, "Oh, I hate my father," when they're on that, right? Like, or like, "Oh, it told me something."
Mm-hmm.
But this is really like you relieving some sort of trauma, right? And I just find like dreams fascinating in that. Like, what are they? As some people like believe dreams are just dreams; they mean nothing. But then other people believe that like dreams actually are trying to like tell you something.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm just wondering what your thoughts on.
I feel like they're not necessarily telling you something or depicting something that's on your mind,
Okay,
right?
not you said not.
Yeah, not like necessarily telling you,
Okay.
but it's more like dealing with a situation in a way.
Oh, interesting. It's sort of like you're like releasing that.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, fascinating. That makes sense to me. I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cause like I'll notice like Athena too. If she'll dream like she's running or chasing something, but maybe it's like something being released, and like maybe she had like an experience of that outside, and she needs to like, or like it's sort of like they say that elk, when they have a traumatic experience, they shake to get like the trauma off them.
Right.
So you think that's sort of like what we're doing when we dream?
Yeah, I think so.
That makes sense.
Yeah, like telling you something is a bit. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that kind of phraseology, right? Like it's
Yeah.
it's telling you something in a way, but it's releasing to like you were holding this in, like
Yeah.
like this is the trauma thing or something.
Oh, that's actually a better way to put it. Yeah, it's not really trying to tell you. Your subconscious isn't trying to tell you something. It's like you were holding on to something that you're now able to let go. And that actually links really well, because a lot of people who do DMT, they're like, "Oh, I feel a release, like something I was holding on to, a baggage, got like let go."
Right. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, because it's the same chemical, and it's like you are going through the same thing. That makes sense. But then it's weird, like, what does it mean to be like lucid dreaming? Because like, why don't, like, I just don't want that, or like I have a control issue, or like,
Could be. I don't know. Yeah.
you know,
I mean,
it's kind of weird too. Like people who lucid dream, it's like, why do you need that control? Like,
Yeah.
why? Yeah. Because you said you like to watch it like a movie, right? Like when you watch movies, you're like
I let it happen like a movie, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't like when I'm watching a movie. I try not to think of. Even it can happen, but I try not to. Like, okay, I think they're trying to do this, or like, oh, this is where I'm predicting it's going to go. I'd rather let it lead me in that
like a roller
direction.
coaster.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, I do that sometimes too. But maybe it's just like my brain's more hardwired to think more meta about everything.
Probably.
So like even when I'm dreaming, I'm thinking meta. Like, this must be a dream, because yeah. Yeah, weird. I thought that was interesting to talk about this week. Because like I had my first dream in like a long time. But I knew I was dreaming, and I was like, dude, does this ever happen to you? Yeah. There used to be, I like read some like exercises on like if you want to, for me, like, so there are like exercises for lucid dreaming. So what you do is you hold on to something into your dream. Oh no, that's different. You can like take things with you into your dream. Have you heard about this?
Mm,
If you hold onto a rock, you can bring it with you into your dream state. I've never tried it, but I've heard that's possible.
Maybe. I'm trying to think
Okay.
of something similar, but yeah, okay.
And then there's like lucid dream tests. So if you're in a dream, they say like if you want to start lucid dreaming, you like try and turn on a light switch because
Okay.
like something about the light, it like weird stuff will happen, and then you'll know it's not real.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it'll be like turn on a light switch and like I don't know, something will happen. You'll be like, oh, this is not how lights are supposed to work.
I understand. Yeah,
You know,
right.
you start challenging the dream, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't actually do that. I just notice that something weird has happened. I'm like, this can't be real. This is like, you're definitely dreaming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That reminds me, like when you're saying the rock or something like that, it's like, that's Inception, like trying to bring in your
Totem.
totem, yeah, to know it's not a dream.
Yeah. So, you spin the totem.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Or that was his thing, or whatever it was, rolling a dice.
Yeah. That was great. That was a great movie. Yeah, I feel like there's something to that, but you know, although we spend most of our lives like in a sleeping state, we never think about what we do in that sleeping state. It's almost like we just turn off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's actually, I heard Lex Friedman talking about this about AI. He had like a robot, and he's like GSP on Lex Friedman. So Lex Friedman was like, when I turn on the machine, it comes to life.
Right.
And then GSP was like, did you notice like something enter into the thing? And my first thought was like, yeah, electricity, bro. Like without electricity, that thing's not coming on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like us as humans, like where does our consciousness go
Mm-hmm.
when we leave, when we fall asleep? And
Right.
then how does it come back?
Mm-hmm.
Just like some thoughts.
Yeah, no,
Or maybe it goes nowhere. Maybe consciousness is an illusion. Maybe we literally shut off like the robot, and then when we turn back on,
yeah, it's a
sparks
very
up
odd
again.
thing that we do that, right? Why we sleep, like what's happening in our sleep,
yeah.
and then feel refreshed in the morning,
I think we
like
need to
we're
like,
recharging something.
yeah. But I think it's maybe like a reset, like our computers, right? Sometimes like my mom's so funny. She's like, my iPad's like acting so weird, and I was like, Mom, did you turn it off and on? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, how'd you do it? She like hit the on and off button. I'm like, no. So I powered it down. I was
Yeah.
like, it was really like lagging like crazy. I'm like, oh, I don't know how to fix this. You probably have to go to the Apple store.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, let me just try one thing. So I held the power button. I turned the power off. I fully booted it back to normal.
Right.
And she's like, what did you do there? I'm like, oh, I actually powered it down. I didn't just like turn it off.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that's like us. We need like a power down state to like reset ourselves.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, but yeah.
Right. There are like chemical things that happen.
There's still
melatonin is cleaning our. I remember this in like psych. Like when you fall asleep, there are things that like chemicals that run through your body to like clean everything up for you. I think it's melatonin,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what like also other things that happen like when you sleep.
No, things are
your
happening.
body
Yeah.
repairs.
Right. No, the things are happening.
Yeah.
It
Like,
can.
if you want like muscular growth, you have to sleep.
Yeah. For the repair to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And if you like miss, like if you don't get your full 7 or 8 hours, the repair is incomplete.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we really are like robots in a way, and it makes you think like when we create robots, like when you said like, oh, we power down the robot, we turn it back on, it comes back to life. Are we just anthropomorphizing that? Did we just create something that's just like us? You know what I mean? Like we created this like robot AI, like powering down the robot AI is sort of like analogous to us sleeping, you know? So it's like maybe it's just doing a thing, but we're anthropomorphizing it. We're like making it seem human.
Right. Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? But it's like, that's just our like faulty human.
Finding parallels, or
yeah.
that's what we're trying to patterns.
But it is kind of weird that we also have to power down
Yeah.
as
But
well.
it's not the same at the same thing. But yeah, we do power down, but things are still happening without our control.
Yeah, totally.
Conscious control. Yeah.
So, wow, this brings up a great question. So, is consciousness independent from the human body? What does conscious mean? Like our active awareness, right?
Yeah. It's only on when we're awake.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, which would lead you to believe that consciousness is dependent on the human body. If you took away the human body, how could you even acknowledge that there is consciousness in the first place?
Right.
Without the human body.
Yeah.
And if you're asleep, maybe it's the powering down of like, if you look at us like an actual robot that's like repairing, sleep is like our repair mode, right?
Yeah.
But like, maybe our operating system is our conscious awareness. You know, like for example, if the battery dies on my laptop, I need to plug it in so that it recharges, aka it needs to sleep so that it can it can repair itself.
Yeah.
But the computer isn't on until I've opened up the iOS, the operating system. Just like our consciousness in our human body, like it needs to be booted up.
Yeah.
Right? That makes total sense. And if there's like bugs in your consciousness, that's when you have like psychological issues, you know, like the coding is incorrect.
Yeah. Wrong chemicals firing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
We wrote the code wrong.
Right.
Like, there's a bug in the system. There's a virus in the system. Or is that anthropomorphization? You know
We're going to always do that, though.
I know, right? Like,
that's inevitable for us to do that. We're always going to be trying to find parallels.
Yeah.
To connect things. That's how we will always try to learn things about the world, by relating it to us.
Because we're so self-centric.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we can only see things in this world through our own perspective.
Yeah.
And even if it's independent of our own perspective, we need to force that perspective onto that thing, which is a great segue into the monkey thing. Okay, so, I was like, excellent.
Yeah, that was really good.
So apparently there are monkey rights now. They're like, we're debating monkey rights to find like, you showed me that article.
Yeah, primate rights.
Yeah, that's not, it's like in a European
demonize
country.
them as just monkeys.
What's the European country thing?
Swiss, or what the country is doing? Which country?
Like, just describe the scenario.
Well, in Switzerland.
Okay.
They're trying to pass a law.
Switzerland, bro, of course.
For giving human rights to primates or monkeys. Yeah.
Yeah, which is like...
and we're doing this based through passing a law that humans follow. So it's...
Yeah.
Like which is very, like, we've never done that, where we're passing something to protect something, giving it the same rights as us.
Yes.
But we're passing the law for them.
I guess technically you would say like this is sort of like animal rights with like animal cruelty.
It's a bit different though.
It's different, totally.
Right? Because you're getting the same rights as us.
Yeah.
Right.
But like, what could those rights be? Free speech, land liberty, home. Like, what are you doing?
Well, the thing would be just to...
Like, it's like, what
like to have the right to live kind of thing.
Okay, but everything has a right to... You know what I mean? It's like... And then
not really. I mean...
not
really. I guess you can't own it as property. Maybe you can't do slavery with it. I don't know.
Because they're too sentient?
Yeah.
But I mean, like, octopi...
Sure, yeah.
Extremely sentient. They found that out, that like... what was that chart that you watched, that documentary where like humans are on the equal level, like what humans are
evolutionary level,
yeah, are the equivalent of octopus in the water,
right?
In terms of like consciousness and like problem solve. Well, not problem obviously because they don't have technology, but like evolutionary level, yeah. So how come we didn't pass those on? We still have like octopus, like
they don't look like
sushi,
us
because they don't look like us.
They don't look like us.
Self-centric.
We're still monkey. The monkeys or primates. They have
four finger, or five fingers.
Five fingers. Yeah. They look,
can smile.
Yeah, they can. Yeah, there's some similarities here that we can see. We're relating.
Yeah.
Human, like.
Yeah.
Like it looks like us, kind of thing. So it's like an octopus doesn't look like us. So,
right.
So that's,
it goes back to like self-centric.
or dolphins don't look like us.
Dolphins are the other ones that are like,
Yeah.
they are actually conscious.
Mhm.
They're self-aware.
Yeah. But they don't look like us. Yeah.
They don't look like
They
us.
don't look like us. So.
See, these are some other problems but I mean, we brought this up before, but like AI rights, that's going to become a thing. Like if you can program
Yeah, they look
it,
like us.
Yeah, they do look like us. But if you program a reaction, like if you program that if I punch the robot, it says "ow," then now you have to write a law saying that there's some sort of like
It feels pain.
Rights. It feels pain. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so trippy. We are like so self-centric. The fact that even the word anthropomorphization is a word, which means like we relate things to human characteristics.
Yeah. Right.
The fact that that's a word shows you how self-centric we are. But it's not. It goes back to the equality thing. It's like equality for all, for people who think like me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not like equality for all, even if you're racist.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like animal rights for animals that look like humans.
Yeah.
It's not a blank. It's not like an overall thing.
Or human rights to, I don't know, like to primates.
Yeah.
That's
Human rights for primates because they look like humans. You know, robot rights for AI because we program them to look like humans.
Yeah.
Like nobody's thinking about a toaster when you hit it.
No.
Right? Or like a vacuum cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
But the second it kind of looks human, we start to like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Swarm mentality, bro. That's the swarm mentality too. That's the negative side of swarm mentality.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's like we're not being meta enough to see that this is also making no sense. Because once you open that door, it's like Pandora's box. How are you going to put it back in? Like you give human rights to primates. What about other primates? Oh, what about other animals?
Mm-hmm.
That's the next step.
Yeah.
What about robots? What about trees?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Who knows?
We're trying to be the
God.
the guardians.
Guardians, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. If you look at like the Bible, it's like the dominion over nature. It's almost like you know, like humans have dominion over nature. It's almost like we've achieved dominion, and now we're like we task it upon ourselves to keep the peace.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Whereas the funny thing is, if like a asteroid hit and our supply chain was down, humans would die, but animals would keep living.
Yeah.
So who's the real one who has the power?
Right.
Trippy to think about. As we progress in our technology, we become more dependent on our technology.
Mm-hmm.
If there was like some sort of asteroid that hit, the ones that would be surviving were like hunter-gatherers.
Yeah.
Who are not dependent on technology.
Yes. Yeah.
They're dependent on nature.
Yeah, they're still living off the land. Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like I like this word. It seems arrogant to say. Hubris. Have you heard the word hubris?
Mm-hmm.
So like, I think it sounds cool when you say like, it's our own human hubris. But it's like, that really just means like arrogant nature. But it also sounds arrogant just to say hubris. It's you know big words, bro. You know, but like it is our human hubris that like makes us think that we are greater than we actually are. We can't even see our own weakness. You know?
Yeah.
It's almost like the story of Prometheus. You know, Prometheus gave fire to humans, even though Zeus didn't want to give us fire. So it's like we're all amazed at the power of fire, but we don't realize how easily we can be burned by it.
Right. Yeah.
You know, technology is the exact same. It's like we've done amazing things.
I mean, these are the lessons in like that story itself that's been there for a long time, right? These are
I
old.
made that up though about the fire. That's not a part of the lesson.
No, I'm saying like they're these ancient stories to tell us these sort of things.
There are lessons, to take away. Yeah, for sure. You know the theory behind that is?
What?
So if you read like ancient, what was the freaking book by Graham Hancock? Fingerprints of the Gods. So what they think, how do you tell somebody who doesn't have the level of intelligence that we have something, right? Like how do you tell a hunter-gatherer who has no idea of technology?
Sure.
Like what you create a story around it.
Yeah. Right.
Right. And these ancient stories have lessons encoded within them because the easiest way to pass on a lesson isn't by telling someone, but by giving them a story that, like, you can fit so much more into a story.
I get that. I do understand that.
Yeah.
But that's also why other interpretations happen, though, right?
Totally.
That's the other
then
problem with it, though.
What's that line? It's like you're focused on the treasure map instead of the treasure.
Yeah.
Go find the treasure. Don't look at the map.
Yeah. So that's like there's positives and negatives to it, though.
Yeah, totally. But this talks about last week's podcast about spirituality and religion. Remember, like, can you find spirituality without religion? It's like, yeah, because religion is the treasure map, but spirituality is the treasure.
Right.
Yeah. All right, that's a great way to end it. Nothing meta, but that's like a meta thought, though, right? It's like people who are so focused on, the treasure map or religion or like whatever it is you're focusing on, you're thinking not at a meta level. You're not thinking big enough.
Right.
Right. But if you look at the treasure, and then you can see like the parts and not the whole, because it's still better to be a master of one than a master of none. Jack of all trades. All right. Anything else?
Yeah, no, I think that's it.
Yeah. All right. Great podcast. Daisy Fish. This is like weirdos.
This was a full-on
weirdo talk
episode.
Full on
like dissecting everything. Like
yeah. But I'll probably call it like something about, what was the thing we talked about before monkeys?
I don't remember. Just before monkeys?
Yeah.
When we segued into it?
All right, whatever.
I can't remember.
I don't know. It'll the title will be not even related. It's a good segue. Like it's a good like, because that's what we need to do as a society. We need to like pull them with the headline.
Oh yeah.
And you like the title of the episode. I mean.
Yeah.
That's how search engine optimization works.
Yeah, we got to know how the game works.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, gotta play the game. All right, Tasty Fish.
Peace. Bye.
All right, hope you enjoyed that episode. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all those fun things, and check out our sponsors, Zenro Clothing Co., Portian Bakery, and Podbean. Take it easy, Fish.
Peace.